is working or not. Hello. Okay, it looks like the stream is working. Let me know if you can hear me, and let me know if the video looks okay or not. Okay, so Priscilla said it's working, so awesome. So I thought I would come on again. I did a live stream 2 days ago while I was working on some masks, and I wanted to do it again because I am still making masks, and I'm sure I will be for quite some time. But it's definitely more fun if I have some of you along with me. So I thought, why not do a live stream while I'm working on these, and that way you can see more of what I'm doing, and I can just have some friends to chat with while I'm here. I have a sew and chat video that I posted about a week and a half ago, where I actually went through all the steps of making this type of mask that I'm working on. And you know, so you can watch that video if you want to see like from start to finish, because I won't be sharing that in this. I'm just sharing what I'm working on at this moment, but I do have the written out instructions down below this video in the description box, as well as links to the supplies that I like using for these masks. And that way, if you want to check out any of the supplies I'm using, you can, and they are affiliate links. So if you do purchase anything through the link, that money goes right back into doing things like this so that I can help other people. Yeah, so let's get started. Awesome, we have some people from Texas, from Missouri, from Connecticut, and from Oregon. That's awesome. I'm so glad you all are here. So what I am working on right now is batch making a lot of the face portion of the masks in bulk. So here are some that's ready for the pleats to be sewn. I've just pleated them by eye. I don't measure the pleats. I'm just eyeballing it so that it looks like this when it's expanded out. I'm putting the clips on there and then pressing it. And then I sew 12 of them at a time. And then I work on the next 12. The reason I'm doing 12 at a time is because that is how many clips I have enough to do. So yeah. Let's see. Someone said I'm brave for doing a live chat. Live chats don't make me nervous at all. I don't know why. I'm an introvert to the core, but I do not mind talking at all. So we have someone from the Netherlands, someone from Indiana, Brooklyn, Ohio, Connecticut. Welcome. I'm so glad you all are here. I'm actually in Oklahoma, if you didn't know that already. I have lived my entire life in Oklahoma. So anyway, I've got the iron heated up, and unfortunately I can't really get you a view of what I'm doing over here. On my pressing table, I have my DIY pressing table that I made out of a little like fold up TV tray, and I will have the tutorial for this linked in the video description as well. It is super handy because I can have it right up here next to me while I am working. And of course I just set it down on something. There we go. Let's see, am I sewing for my stash? Yes, I am, and I hope you can hear me. My heater just kicked on. It is cold here right now. Hi, Stephanie, Bethany. Oh, she's here too. She's from Oklahoma. She is one of the YouTubers that I've actually done some panels with at different conventions on the Tulsa YouTubers group. So that is a lot of fun. I'm glad you were able to tune in, Stephanie. See, we have Texas, Minnesota, Idaho, Kentucky, Alabama, South Carolina, and bridal sewing techniques. I'm glad you understand the whole introverted thing, because it's definitely a way of life for me. Can y'all hear my heater or not in the background? Okay, so I got this just pleated by hand, just eyeballing it, and then I'm going to pop the iron on it just to set those pleats just a little bit. That way, if the, you know, if I pull the clip off too early while I'm sewing the pleats down, it'll still kind of like pop back into place while I am sewing it. Have I ever run into Hanson? They are from Tulsa too. Actually, okay, so I was not a Hanson fan when I was younger, but I was in a store while I was in college, so this is like 13 years ago. I was in a store in like the dressing room, and I heard a song come on, and I was like, man, that's a cool song. So I looked it up on the internet, and lo and behold, it was a Hanson song from one of their like newer albums. And so I became a huge Hanson fan while I was in college. And then I had the opportunity to go to a concert that they had. It was a free concert put on in Tulsa. And I ran into somebody I knew at the concert, and they got me backstage, and I was able to meet Taylor and Zach. So yes, I have met Hanson. I met two of the Hanson brothers. I got pictures with them. It was super, super cool. So there's my like claim to fame. That's all I have for you. Do I top stitch all the way around? I do not. I sewed the top and bottom and flipped it, and then I just sew the pleats down after it's been pressed, and that stays in place really nicely. And then just when it's washed afterwards, I just like pop the iron back on it, and it looks great. So I don't worry about top stitching the rest of it. So someone is here from the UK. It is almost 4:30 in the morning there. Wow. I am not a 4:30 in the morning person. I am definitely a night owl for sure. Let's see. Anita Green has met Elvis. That is awesome. I really like Elvis music. Awesome that Hanson got to meet a YouTuber. This was actually before I was on YouTube. I think it was 2 years before I was a YouTuber. So they had no earthly idea who I was, and that was okay. Your dad works for Selena's dad. Ooh, that's cool. Where do you call to be able to donate masks? Okay, so the masks I'm making are, I've given some out to friends who just wanted something to be able to wear for like if they had to go to an appointment or to a grocery store or something. The rest of them, a friend of mine told me about an Access Medical type clinic that they go to if their kids get sick. And that place had requested masks for passing out to patients in the waiting area for like non-COVID patients so that they could wear it while they were waiting. And then they would encourage them to take the mask home and keep wearing it as they were going about their, you know, daily life or whatever. So they actually asked if, like my friend said, how many masks do you need? And they said, if you can get us 1,000, we will use 1,000. So my friend started making masks for them, and she mentioned it to me, and I said, I will help you make them, because I wanted to make some and I didn't know who to donate for. So it worked out really well that she had already found the opportunity. So that's how I happened into it. But there are some websites set up where they are hooking people up with places that need masks. I don't have the exact links or anything for it, but you could probably just search it and find a place that's accepting them. hi from Georgia. Hello. Okay, so I'll have to check out that. What, Spa Guy has a lot of Elvis Presley stuff on YouTube. Okay. Heidi's making masks right now too. I am doing ties on mine. So let me get one. Okay. So, okay. So I'm doing ties, and the way I do it is when when I have bias tape, I am using it, which actually my bias tape order came in today, and I'm so excited. So here's my 55-yard rolls of bias tape. I ordered 8 of them. So when I have that, I use that. When I don't, I cut a 2-inch wide strip of fabric like this, and I fold in each side by about a 1/2 inch, and then I fold it in half to make a tie. And then I just sew it on the pleated side of the mask, and the tie itself is 36 inches long. So that's how I'm doing them. I am not leaving a spot for a filter because the place I'm making it for just requested 2 layers of cotton fabric, because they figured if they made it too complicated, then people wouldn't wear them when they went home. And they wanted people to continue to wear them. So they were trying to make it as, wearable and easygoing for the patients as possible. Robin, I did a sew and chat video last week where I walked through the entire process of how I'm making them. So that would be the video to check out. And I have the written instructions in the description box of this video and that video as well. So I looked at a ton of mask tutorials and kind of took what I liked about each one and kind of smushed them all together until I had a version that I liked and that I felt was really efficient to not waste much fabric, and that I could sew pretty quickly in a what's it called? Where you just sew one after the other, whatever that's called. I can't think of it right now. Am I interfacing or putting flannel inside? No, I'm not, unless I'm making it for a friend who specifically requests that. Yay, my heater shut off. Is this my favorite sewing machine? This is a sewing machine that I'm borrowing from my mom because the motor went out on mine and I had to borrow one until I could replace the motor, which I've actually done. I've replaced the motor, but I'm just continuing to use my mom's machine for now because I like it. Let's see. Sorry, the comments are coming in faster than I can read them. There are 55 yards on the bias tape roll, and I am getting them from Amazon. There is a link for them already in the video description box. I have made, let me do the math, 174 masks are completed, and I have 86 in the works right now that are in some sort of progress. So, a lot. Oh, and someone earlier asked if I was using my stash fabrics. I am. Some of these fabrics are ones that I've been given over the years. So, about 10 years ago, a friend's mother passed away, and I was given a lot of fabric that she had built up in her stash. And so some of it, like this, came from her. And then some fabrics came from viewers who have sent me things over the years. So this is a fabric a viewer sent to me several years back. And then this fabric is some that a friend gave me I forget if it was last week or this week, because they wanted to help out. And so a friend gave me this. And then this is fabric that I purchased. So I am using any and all fabric that I can get my hands on. And a friend actually gave me several yards of solid color fabric today to use for the masks, which is awesome. And I got it washed up already, and it's ready to use now. Assembly line. That's the word I was trying to figure out earlier. I tried to make the masks in such a way that I could assembly line sew them so that it would be efficient. There we go. I knew the word would come to me. But yes, I'm also chain stitching them. Will the 2 layers be enough to protect from the virus? No. This is not enough to protect from COVID. However, it will catch big particles, and since there is a lack of supplies for things that are like COVID approved or whatever, this is better than nothing. And yeah, so like I said, I'm making it for an urgent care center as they requested. So it's not my decision to not have a filter or not do interfacing or whatever. It is what they requested. And I'm just doing my part to try to help out. Tina, do not worry about trying to go at a faster speed. As many as you get done is a blessing and more than none. So it's amazing. Just because I've made more than some people does not mean that I'm any better. It's just I've had more free time to work on this. Yes, it definitely blocks the larger drops, for sure. So as you can see, I am just chain piecing them together. I am not cutting the thread in between each one. I'm just sewing a couple of stitches in between. And this is for a few reasons. It is faster, it's more efficient, it uses less thread, and it just keeps them all in a line so that, I keep dropping things, I'm sorry. It keeps them all in a line so that when I go to work on the next step, they're already just all lined up for me. Would putting fleece help between the layers? I have heard negative things about fleece, but that does not mean it's true. But I heard it is warmer on your face and can hold more moisture, which then like makes it less effective, but like moisture in a bad way, like it holds your breath moisture more. But like I said, I just heard it somewhere. I don't know if it's true or not. Yes, I am using the same color thread no matter what, because all the thread that I've stitched up to this point will not show in the finished mask. So everything I'm doing right now is not showing, so I'm just using a neutral beige color, and then when I get to sewing on the ties, I will match them up based on what color ties they're going to have, and I try to pick a thread that like at least coordinates with that. And I'll sew all of one color at once, and then I'll switch to the other one. But yeah, like the stuff I'm sewing right now isn't going to show, so I'm just using my like plain colored thread that I have on larger spools. And since I'm doing so many at once, I have already wound a couple of bobbins so that when one runs out, I already have another one to just throw right in there, and it doesn't slow me down. Is fleece breathable? I I don't think so. It's all a synthetic material. So like it's not going to be nearly as breathable as natural materials are. So yeah, you're welcome for the tip on sewing them in a row. I totally got that from my mom. Pretty much any good thing I know about sewing came from my mom. Recommendation to put between the layers. I would look online and do more research on that. Since I've been focused on making these for a specific reason, I haven't done a lot of research on the like filter stuff because I know that's not what I've been asked to make for this particular use. This is not a Singer 15. This is a Singer 201-2 made in the 50s, and it is on loan from my mom. She has an almost identical one that's another Singer 201-2 that she's using as well right now to make masks. Okay, so I reached the end of my 12, and I am going to cut it there, and then I have a whole line of them just waiting for the other side to be sewn. So that's what I'm going to do now. I am using 2 layers of cotton for my masks because these are just for like everyday use. They are not for hospital use, and that is what the place I'm donating for has requested. What kind of stitching for the ties? I'm just using a straight stitch. That is all these older machines do, is a straight stitch. I have put a layer of flannel in between. The mask I made for myself does have 1 layer of flannel inside, mostly because I just already had it, so I just stuck it in there, and here's how mine looks. Yep, mine is 2 layers of cotton and 1 layer of flannel. Potted motor, I have no idea. I don't know what that means. Sorry. My mom is the one who knows more about vintage machines than I do. I just use them. And I am back stitching at the beginning and ending of each one because when I cut these apart, I don't want my stitches to start falling out. I wouldn't say that flannel works best. I just, I put some in mine just because I happen to have it. But, I mean, it may not be any better at filtering than cotton for all I know. Aw, someone said they're sewing masks right now and wanted to watch something in the background. So I'm glad that you are watching my stream. Thank you. Awkward Artist asked how many I have made. I have completed 174. I have 36 that are just waiting for the ties to be sewn on, and an additional 50 that are in process in some other way. And yes, I'm writing all that down. I don't just have that memorized. I'm writing down as I go so I can, at the end of this, look back and see how many I've made and all of that, just to know. Would hair ties have been simpler? I keep getting questions on, you know, should I just use elastic or whatever? I chose not to do elastic because I have a small head, and so I know the struggle of having something that doesn't fit your head very well. And with the elastic, they are less adjustable, or the hair ties or the headbands, whatever people are using, they're less adjustable than ties. So I am sticking with the ties because they can fit someone with a large head like my husband, or they can fit someone with a small head like myself, you know, with all the same measurements of everything else. Is my mom making masks? She was making some a few days ago. A relative of ours is a doctor at a clinic, and so she made some for them. But I haven't asked her lately if she's made any more, so I don't know if she's like making them still. I don't know. Is my husband helping me? No, he has not been helping with the actual like sewing and cutting and stuff because I am very fast at all of that. But he's definitely been helping with the kids because I've been working on these during the day sometimes, and he is kind of in charge of the kids while I'm doing it, and you know, all of that stuff because he's been home from work. So I definitely count that as helping, even though it's not like hands-on with the masks. Do I have a kid size? I have made some kid size. They are, I just knocked them down. Okay, here's the kid size. They are not pressed because I washed them today. And honestly, I just used the scraps that I had left. So these are, I think it was like 5.5 by 7 or 7.5 that I cut them to. Yeah, and my kids are almost 4 and 5 years old, and they were a little bit big on them, but it really wasn't bad. They've been wearing them around the house because they're playing, like their doctors doing checkups and stuff, so. But no, I don't have like an official like measurement to go off of for kid size. So, Ashley asked where you can contribute toward supplies. I actually, if you want to, I have a PayPal that some people have sent money to. I just linked it in the comment box. If you want to contribute, do not feel obligated at all. But if you really, really want to, you can contribute there, and it goes toward buying the bias tape for these. I have spent over $200 so far on bias tape because I can make a mask in about a third of the time, it seems like, when I have the bias tape, instead of making the ties myself, because it takes a very long time to press the ties so that they are like folded in on the edges and everything. So if you want to donate, that's what it would go to, but definitely do not feel obligated at all to do so. So yeah, I finished up this batch. This one's hilarious because this side makes me think of like, you know, modern science and all that stuff. And then the only fabric I had that coordinated color-wise at all was corn. Yep, that is corn print fabric. And I thought that was just hilarious. And they are reversible, so people can pick whichever side they want to use on the outside. It's just once you pick a side, you don't want to wear it, take it off, and then flip it and wear it on the other side unless you have washed it in between, or else you're just putting those germs right back on your face, and that is not good. Yeah, bias binding takes forever to press. And it is super annoying. Let me see. There we go. Got my nice sharp scissors here, and I'm going to trim up all the edges that I just sewed, so that I'm just cutting like 1/8 of an inch off of it to even up those edges, because I'm cutting and sewing these pretty fast. So I want to even up the edges so it fits in the bias binding really nicely. How is my hair so shiny? I don't know. I have a light right here, so that's probably helping. But other than that, I have no idea. Yeah, someone mentioned grosgrain ribbon. That works really well too. If you have like the inch wide ribbon, you can just fold it over in half and use that as your ties. I don't have a stock of ribbon that I can pull from, so that doesn't work for me. I wish it did. Yeah, make use of what you have. Definitely do that. Other than purchasing the bias binding, personally, is a good decision for me, because it saves my sanity and my back. The first day I made the ties just from fabric, I sat there and ironed for like an hour, and my back hurt so bad by the end that I couldn't sew for the next day because I was in so much pain. So to me, buying the bias binding is worth it to save myself the back pain. Future nurses, yep. Are you talking about my kids playing doctor? Use a shoestring. Yeah, you could use a shoestring if you had them. I don't have shoestrings, but if you have them, that is awesome. That would definitely work. And we have Helena who's tuning in. She is from the Navajo Nation. That is awesome. What state is that in? As I drop my scissors. I cannot keep my hands on anything. Let's see, my bias strips, I'm cutting them to, it's like 35 inches. Because if I cut them at 35 instead of 36, that gets me like one more mask per roll of bias binding. What's funny is the bias binding on Amazon, that's the only place I can find the huge rolls, and my friend and I pretty much keep taking turns buying out the stock, and then they have to like ship in more stock, and then we buy them out again. So my friend and I are both doing that. It's really funny. Okay, so that is 12 more that are prepped and ready for the ties. So I'm putting them over here in my stack, and then I'm going to pleat the next 12. And as I mentioned earlier, I'm doing 12 at a time because that is how many I have enough clips to do. Would you put flannel in the middle, Helena asked. I put flannel in the middle of mine. It makes it a little thicker, and I don't really know how much more effective it makes it, but I stuck it in there anyway. I've seen arguments both ways for using flannel, so I don't know. After this, I've decided if I run out of fabric, then I will start cutting into my vintage sheet stash because I have a lot of sheets that I picked up at thrift stores to use for fabric, and I have a lot of them. So I'm going to use those next if I run out of like yardage. And I've actually heard that old sheets work really well because they were a tighter weave than a lot of our like modern cottons. So who knows? Yeah, who would have ever thought that so many of us around the world would be sitting here making masks? I never, ever would have imagined. But I am glad that I have the supplies and the skill to do it. And it's giving me something to do to keep me distracted from all of my things I wanted to go to that got canceled. So it's helping with that. Okay, sorry. So when I pleat them, I am just pleating them by hand. I just eyeball it and I like fold the pleat in, and then I just put the clip there. Once I have all three in, I throw the iron on it to just kind of set the pleat a little bit and set it aside and go on to the next one. These clips I'm using are super, super handy because I'm not having to deal with being poked by pens, and yeah, clips are my favorite thing. Do I recommend washing the masks after I'm done making them? It depends on the situation. When I give them to friends, I don't. You know, the fabric was pre-washed. I recommend washing before wearing. So yeah, I leave it up to them to take care of washing, but some places might request that they are washed. Like the fabric was pre-washed, but obviously I've handled it a lot since then. So I think it would depend on where you're donating them to as to if you would need to do that or not. If you do wash them, you will have to sit there and press all of them again because they're going to get really rumpled looking like these right here that were washed today. So it just depends on the place you're donating, what they request. Same fabric for both sides. No, I am using different fabrics for as many of them as possible, and that way it's easy to know which side is the side that goes against your face and which side is the outside that has possibly been contaminated, because you don't want to take it off and then put the contaminated side against your face the next time around if you don't have a chance to wash it in between. Yeah, one person said that in some places in Texas, if you don't wear a mask while you're out, you can get fined. I don't know for sure. I haven't heard that, but I know a lot of places are strongly encouraging them now. So I wouldn't be surprised if that happens soon. At least maybe not the fines, but at least like the rule that you're supposed to do it. Yeah, feel free to adjust this pattern. This is just what I came up with based on a lot of different ones that I looked at, and it's working well for me, but feel free to change it for what works best for you. I am not adding filters to mine because it was not requested by the place I'm donating. Lenora said she donated fabric. That's awesome. Even if you can't make some right now, that's that's super awesome to go ahead and donate to someone who is able to make them right now. That's great. Yeah, some places, I know some places in New York are requesting specifically white masks. That way they can be like bleached easily and all of that, and they look uniform. But again, mine aren't going to a hospital, and so they do not care what color they are or anything. They just need them to give out to the patients. I don't put a nose piece in any of mine. Tina was asking about a nose piece. I'm not putting a nose piece at all. Again, with the ties, you can adjust it more to fit your face than you can with elastic. So I'm not worried about it. Tina said she didn't pre-wash her fabric. You know, that I personally pre-wash mine because I'm pulling it out of storage, and I don't know what all, you know, it's sat around for a long time. It could be dusty, it could be, you know, whatever. And I just want to make sure that any shrinkage that, you know, if it might shrink, I want to go ahead and get that out before I cut it. Moon Bunny, I did my sew-in chat last week where I walked through the process of making the masks, and that's the closest I have to a tutorial, and the information is written out under the video, but it's not like a step-by-step tutorial like I usually share. If you didn't wash the fabric before sewing, I mean, your biggest issue would just be if the fabric has like dust in it. You'd want to wash it before wearing it. Or your fabric could shrink up and it could just kind of have like a wrinkly looking to it, where like one side shrinks more than the other. But I mean, it's not the end of the world. Cheryl said the hospital asked them to wash them first. I think that's great, because they may not have an opportunity to wash them once they're donated before they actually are needed. So that's great that they are encouraging people to pre-wash. Will the bias shrink? It could. The bias I'm using is polyester, so I think it's less likely to shrink than cotton would. But even then, it's not going to shrink enough that it's going to be like too short. Can you donate to the same place that I am donating? I actually don't have like the name or address of the place I'm donating because I'm dropping them off with my friend and then she is driving them over. And I am one lazy person, and I have failed to actually get the name of the place from her. But I could try to get that information if you wanted it. Anna said, what is the wire for? Some people are putting wire inside the bridge of the nose area right here so that they can bend the wire to better fit their nose. It seems to be more so with the elastic ones. So if the elastic isn't fitting perfectly, they can use the wire to better fit it around their nose. So that's what the wire's for. Mine don't have it though. I am using polyester thread, not because it's better or worse, but that's because I have polyester thread. There was a store that went out of business, a fabric store, almost 2 years ago, and I pretty much bought the bulk of their thread stock for a really good deal. And so that's what I have, and that's what I'm using. Someone said polyester is sweaty. This is just the thread though, so it's not going to make a difference. I wouldn't want to use polyester fabric, but for thread it won't matter. Yeah. Oh, and my ties are polyester. Yes, that is correct, because I couldn't find cotton bias binding in large rolls. I really wanted cotton bias binding, but I just could not find it. So I'm using what I can find. Good night, bridal sewing techniques. I'm glad you could stop by and chat for a little while. By the way, my house is never this quiet. I always have a movie or YouTube or an audiobook. I've actually been doing a lot of audiobooks lately because I can listen to them while I'm sewing. And I always have the fan on and everything. And so when I'm doing a live stream, I can't play anything in the background. I can't have the fan on. And so it is like, I don't know, eerily quiet in my house, and it's really strange. Tina said there is a fabric outlet store where all the fabric is $2.99 a yard. That is amazing. I wish there was a place like that near me. Roxy said, how many masks do I think I've made? I have made 174 completed, and I have, what did I say it was, 36 ready for ties and 50 that are waiting to be pleated. Yes, Lori. A double layer mask, as long as you're kind of keeping your distance from people, doing all that, 2 layers of cotton is going to be sufficient for grocery shopping. You can add a 3rd layer if you want, but you know, as long as you're not in like a hospital setting, you're really not going to need much more than that. They said, how many am I making? Well, I am making until I run out of supplies or until there is not a need anymore. So sewing until there is nothing else to sew for. Marie asked what time it is. It is 11:08 p.m. I am definitely a night owl. I am up until 12:30 or 1 o'clock every single night because I do not sleep well. So I stay up really late until I'm absolutely exhausted so that it's less likely I will lay in bed awake for an hour or two. And that is when I usually get a lot of book reading in. So, yep, I'm definitely a night owl. I love that. Tina made her husband a Batman mask to wear when he needs to shop. I made my husband a Star Wars mask because that is what he requested. Good night, Anna. Or did I say good night to the wrong person? I don't know. Whoever it was that said good night. Good night. husband wears glasses, and he hasn't commented about them fogging up when he wears his mask. So I'll have to ask him if he thinks a wire would help or not. Because he's had to wear it several times because he's had appointments that he had to go to. So yeah, I'll see what he thinks on that. Ooh, good idea, Linda. She said she has 3 new packs of allergy pillow covers that she opened up at the seams and cut to put inside the mask. That is awesome. That is a really good idea. And Stephanie said she's working on masks right now. That's awesome. To answer your question, Annie, there is... Oh, poop. I just forgot the name of her channel. Let me see if I can find it. There was a lady who just today posted a video that she of a mask she made, kind of based off my tutorial, but she added a pipe cleaner for the nose piece, and she showed how she did it. So let me see if I can. Of course I can't find it right now. No, I can't find it right now. Anyway, she just left a little section at the top unsewn, and then she sewed like a little channel, and then she slid a pipe cleaner in there, but she left it open so that she could take the pipe cleaner out for when she washed her mask. Yeah, and she said she liked it, so it's worth giving a try if you think it might help. Couldn't you just take a painter mask and put it over your nose area when wearing? I'm not really understanding. I don't have any painter's masks, so I don't know. What do I use to hold my clips? This is actually the Paw Patrol cup bowl thing that I swiped for my kids. So my kids got this from my mom, and it's the perfect size to hold my clips, so I actually swiped it just a couple days ago because I typically keep them in a glass jar, but when I am using them so much, like using all of them so much, I need them in something that's more open, and yeah, so that's what I'm using to hold them. Good night, Lori. Okay, so there is all 12 of them pieced on, or the pleats sewn down on one side, so I'm going to just sew down all of the other side. So it kind of looks like a ladder when I'm done, because they'll all just be hooked together like this. So yes, the clips are 1,000 times better than pens, because I can put them in faster, take them out faster, and not get poked. So yeah, if you have not tried clips already, you should. I have them linked in the description box down below. You should definitely try them. As soon as I gave them a try the first time, I was like, I am never going back. I only use pens when absolutely necessary. Teresa says she's sewing masks right along with me. That's awesome. Brenda, this is a Singer 201-2 from the 1950s that I borrowed from my mom because the motor went out on my old machine that was from the 60s. And so my mom loaned me this one to use until I could get the motor replaced on my other machine. I absolutely love vintage machines because they are super sturdy. They are no nonsense because there's no computer in them. They only straight stitch. And so they are far harder to break. So like you can do just about anything with an old machine and it will survive. It can sew through like a ton of layers at a time. And they sew a lot faster than most of the modern machines. And I like sewing as fast as humanly possible. You used to have the corn print. Yeah. This fabric came from my friend when his mom passed away. She had a huge fabric stash, and so I got about an entire SUV's worth of fabric, like loaded down SUV full of fabric, that I'm still using, and it's been almost 10 years. Someone is taking a break to dye their hair. Way too much gray. I actually have about 3 gray hairs right now. I am 33. And I have decided that when it goes, I want it to go fast. Because I don't care about things like hair color and all that. Like, I like having really dark brown hair. I like that. But like I also don't care if I have gray hair. Like to me hair is just hair. And so I'm like, but if it's gonna go, I want it to go fast so that it's just like all gray all over. So yeah. Who am I donating to? I am giving some to friends who have requested them for their families, and the bulk of them are going to a local urgent care center that has made a request, and my friend and I are trying to fulfill their request for 1,000 masks that they're passing out to patients to wear in the waiting area and then to take home to continue wearing to the store and for things like that. So it's a huge request. We have sent about 225 so far, so we have a long way to go, but we're doing the best we can. Where do I keep all of my fabric? Well, thankfully, we had a garage at our last house, and then we have a storage building at this house. So I have some of it in like plastic tubs out in the building. And then you can't see it right here, but I have, this is like a desk style table that my machine is on, and then next to this I have a dresser, And the dresser is full of fabric, and I also have some fabric in our homeschool room as well. So I have some here, there, and everywhere. Aw, Coupon Gal, thank you. That's so sweet. I figure this is the least I can do because honestly, I'm just sitting at home. Like, I would be at home anyway. And this is a way of using my skills, using my supplies, and kind of, you know, a way of saying thanks to all the people who aren't able to stay home with their families right now. And, you know, they're the ones doing the hard work, and I'm just trying to help. So. Oh, yeah, that'd be so sweet, Tina. She said that the workers at Walmart didn't have any masks available. So, yeah, that would be so cool if you made them and donated them. Okay. There we go. So that is 12 more with the pleats sewn in, and they are ready for the ties. And this is what I am doing tonight. I'm not planning on doing the ties tonight because when I get one of the rolls out, which if you didn't see the rolls when I showed them earlier, here's what the rolls look like. They are 55 yards of polyester bias binding because that's the only large rolls I could find. I have them linked in the description box if you want to check them out. I bought 8 rolls of them. And when I open it up, I try to cut all of them at once, and it's like a huge mound. So I don't think I'll be doing that tonight, because usually where I put that mound is where my computer is currently sitting. So, yeah. I think I will just continue sewing the pleats in these, and then when I'm done with that, I will call it a night. Aw, thank you, Deborah. That's really sweet. Dexter's mom said she has trouble keeping the folds the same size on each side. Okay, let me see if I can move my computer where I can show that. Let me try. It's hard to do. I have a lot of stuff up here. And then my replay has a lag to it, so I won't even know for a second until the replay catches up. I apologize for how much this is moving. Okay. Tell me if you can see this surface here. Sissy girl, is that how you say it? My machine is a Singer 201-2 from the 50s. Okay, let's see. Okay, good. It looks like you can see what I'm doing. So let me finish this one, and then I will show slower on the second one. Okay, so I really have no secret to it, but I will show you what I do. So I get it and I grab about like 1.25 inches down on each side. Okay. And I make a fold there, and I try to make it symmetrical on both sides while I'm doing it. And I pull it down so that the pleat itself is about 1/2 inch. So I can see that this fold to the fold back there is about 1/2 inch. And I stick a clip there. Sorry about that. Okay, so since I folded them both at the same time, I kind of like pressed a little bit right there already. So it's easy to just go ahead and clip that. And then I do the same thing, only this time I grab about 3/4 of an inch down and I just pull it so that there's about a 1/2 inch back there. And as I go, I'm kind of looking to make sure that the distance from the bottom of that pleat to the bottom edge on both sides is about the same. And if it's not, if it's just off by a little bit, it's not a big deal. But if it's off by much, I go ahead and adjust the pleat size. And then on the last one, I grab again about 3/4 inch and I pull it to almost the bottom. So I am doing 3 pleats on these. My original ones were only 2 pleats, but I have started cutting a larger size and doing 3 pleats now because the urgent care place requested that so that people with even larger faces would feel like there was enough space inside the mask for them. So yeah, they said both sizes still worked good, but you know, they requested some of them be larger. So yeah, that's how I do it. It's like no big secret or anything, but you know, that's what I do. Molly asked if 60% cotton, 40% polyester is fine. If you're donating them, they need to be 100% cotton. If it's for your own use, I mean, if that's what you have, use it. But, you know, I mean, synthetic fabrics aren't going to be as comfortable to breathe through in the grand scheme of things. So, natural fibers are going to be better in general. So, how long is your original cut of fabric? The ones I'm making now with the 3 pleats are, 7.5 by 8.5. I believe it's written in the description box down below. You can double check it there. So yeah. Okay, I am going to switch back to the other view because it's harder for me to read the comments down like that. Okay. But yeah, like, you know, I mean, if your pleats aren't exact, like, it's not that big a deal because the point is to make sure that your face is covered, you know, to protect larger particle and that sort of thing. You know, it doesn't have to look amazing. It has to just function. So that's cool. I am doing 2 layers of 100% cotton fabric because that's what's been requested for the place that I'm donating. Okay, so as you can see here, this side is shorter than this side because I wasn't paying enough attention. So I am going to go ahead and repleat this side. Like, it's still not a big deal, but just since I noticed it before I sewed it, I am going to go ahead and correct it. So there, I just shifted the top pleat a little bit, and so now it is more even. Tina, so do you like making the rounded ones? I was going to make some of the more like rounded shape ones, but I knew I wouldn't be able to make them as fast because of the more accurate cutting it would take because I can like rotary cut these rectangles super duper fast, you know, in several layers at a time. But I knew making the rounded ones would take more cutting time, so I didn't try making that style. The dimensions of the fabric are listed in the description box, along with all of the step-by-step instructions written out there. Yeah, I understand wanting perfection being a quilter, but I also, quilting was not my first sewing thing, so to me, perfection is harder. Speed is faster for me. Like, I'm all about speed sewing. So I thought this fabric was really fun. Okay, so on this side, it's like a winter, you know, forest scene. And this was, again, from a friend whose mom passed away. And then on the back, the only fabric I had that, like, matched at all, like, color-wise, was this fabric right here, which is, like, Paisley's, but, like, it kind of looks bacteria, like a close-up of, like, bacteria or something. I'm like, that's kind of weird, but at the same time, I mean, it's kind of cute. And, I mean, a mask is a mask, even if the fabric is weird, right? Bye, Linda. I'm glad you could stop by. Yeah, so I thought that fabric was hilarious, but at least it's not like the, you know, circular type molecule like the COVID virus looks like. I don't think I would use it if it looked more like that. How can I tell if my fabric is 100% cotton? There's like different burn tests and things you can do, but honestly, look at the selvage first. Sometimes the selvage will say it. That's the like woven strip on the edge. And then like just most of the like quilting type fabrics you buy are going to be 100% cotton anyway. Yeah, so I can just like kind of tell by feel. I don't really know how to explain it. But there are like burn tests and things you can do if you really need to know. The binding I'm using is, it's a 1/2 inch finished. Here's the link to the binding that I'm using. They show like up close with measurements and stuff, so you can check that out for like all the measurements and everything. How long do I make the elastic bands? I don't. I'm not making any with elastic because it doesn't fit as wide a variety of head sizes. Tina said somebody on Facebook had a fabric print that looked like the coronavirus. Oh my goodness. I can see like the humor in that, but I can also see how like I don't think I would want it. Sorry, my steam from my iron is getting to me. By the way, to anyone who joined my live stream 2 nights ago, I figured out how to get rid of the black box around the video. So I'm very excited about that. As soon as the stream ended on Wednesday night, I like finally found the way to get rid of the box that was around the video. And I'm like, man, I wish I would have figured that out before the live stream, but at least I know now. To the to the people who are asking about how they stay on if I don't use elastic. So here's the one I made for myself. I obviously used a sewing fabric. So you put it on, and I have these ties. They are 36 inches long that go along the pleated sides, and you put them on. You tie it like that above the ears, and then you tie the other one in the like neck area, and that is how they stay on. They are very adjustable because you can tie them as tight or loose as you need, and that helps the nose part stay in place because of how it's tied. And I prefer this size because with this type of closure or fastening or whatever you want to call it, my husband and I have the same size mask, even though I have a very small head and he has a very large head, and both our masks fit us how they should because we can just tie them to be a custom fit. So I hope that makes sense. I'll have to show you the fabric on the next one. It is so cute. So let me get this one pleated up. It's the last one of the tree print. And then I have a really cute print to show. I'm glad you were able to join us, Music Girl. Okay, so here is the fabric on the next one. Does anyone know what this is from? A friend of mine gave it to me to use for masks. She was gonna make some masks, but she has like her hands give her trouble and stuff, so she donated it to me to make masks from, and it is super cute. So let me know if you figure out what this fabric is from. I have to run grab my phone really quick because I just got a text. And it was my dad. Yeah, pressing the strips to make the ties definitely takes the longest time, and that's why I purchased the bias tape as soon as I found it. Yes, it is Eric Carl's Hungry Hungry Caterpillar. It is so cute. I love it, and I wish I would have saved it because the only fabric I had that would coordinate with it was chevrons in this teal color, so that's what I put on the back. But I wish I would have waited because today I was given several solid colored cottons from a friend, and they would have been so good for the back, and then I could have had the chevron for the front of another batch of masks, but that's okay. Yeah, you mentioned having a lot of girly fabric. Yeah. Some people are saying like keep them gender neutral or make sure to like donate, you know, ones that are more appeal more to females as at the same time you donate that will appeal to males. But to be honest, I just have to use what I have, and I was shocked at how much pink fabric I have because I don't even really love pink at all. But it was fabric that I had been given, and there was so much of it. So I had like a whole batch of masks that was just pink. Like pink polka dots, pink solid, pink flowers. And so, you know, sorry to anyone out there who got them that doesn't like pink, but a mask is a mask. I think that's like my slogan right now is a mask is a mask. It's better than none, you know, no matter what color it is or whatever. As long as you got it. Okay, so I got all 12 of them pleated and clipped, and they are ready to be chain pieced together. Cheryl said she keeps finding flowers from the 1980s. That's awesome. Those might actually be popular right now. A lot of the older, like floral kind of designs are actually popular again. So a lot of people may really like those. Aw, their toddler wanted a Batman one. That is so cute. My kids wanted mermaids. So I made mermaids for my kids. And it's that on one side and then floral on the other. And I did different colored ties because the masks are identical. But I did different colored ties so that they could tell them apart based off who had the blue and who had the green. Oh, I just realized you can't even hardly see my sewing machine. Let me scooch you over just a little bit. It's funny how much of this is spent like prepping and clipping, because I feel like I spend most of the time, you know, pressing and clipping, and then just like a tiny bit of it is actually sewing. Yes, the ties are 36 inches long. And that is because they go from one end all the way across the pleated edge, all the way to the other side. And that's long enough to go around the head and tie in a small bow. No, I'm not interfacing them. These were requested to just be 2 layers of cotton fabric by the place that I'm donating them to. The machine is a Singer 201-2 from the 1950s that I am currently borrowing from my mom. I think a lot of people who weren't super into sewing, but maybe, bummer, my pleat flipped over, so I have to fix that. Who weren't super into sewing, but maybe had a machine, maybe had a little fabric. I think a lot of people like that have decided to make masks and make things when Australia was needing things. So yeah, I think this is really the recent events. I think have gotten a lot of people sewing who would have kept putting it off otherwise, even though they might have wanted to learn to sew. So who knows, maybe after all this is over, people are going to want to make lots of other kinds of things too. And if they do, subtle plug, I have 10 years worth of tutorials on my channel. Everything from beginner to not beginner. I'm getting all twisted up here. There we go. Sometimes when I'm chain piecing, I kind of like get the things twisted around the wrong way and I lose track of like which way I'm going. Tina says she thinks we will kind of go back to the older ways after this, which who knows, we might. I definitely wouldn't hate it. There are a lot of things that people used to do that I think are great. One thing I'm actually hoping to do soon is to start making more clothes for my kids. Right now, I do make them costumes and things like that, but we have been given a lot of hand-me-down clothes. For the first 5 years of my daughter's life, she has worn almost all hand-me-downs from a friend of ours, and the little girl who we were getting them from was like a little fashionista, and so she had enough clothes for like 3 kids. And so people would ask, you know, oh, are you making clothes for your kids? And I'm like, no, we are overrun with clothes. Like, it is ridiculous how many we have. But my daughter is really tall, and so she's actually basically the same size as the 8-year-old girl that we've been getting stuff from. So I told them that from now on, I want them to find another family to bless with their hand-me-downs because they're too close in size. Like, it's not going to work out anymore. And so I hope to start making more clothes for my kids now. There was no need before. Like, they literally did not need clothes before. But now that we're not going to get hand-me-downs, I would like to start making them some more like, you know, like summer dresses and things like that. So I definitely will be getting into more like clothing sewing than I have in the past. Like I said, I've always done costumes and stuff, but this will be actual like garments to wear on a regular basis. So I think that's going to be really fun. They definitely like when I make them things because they can, you know, choose what fabrics they want and they can choose different aspects of it and get exactly what they want. Whereas if you go to the store and you have in mind, you know, I want a dress with unicorns on it, you know, there may or may not be a dress with unicorns on it at the store. So they are definitely excited about it. Okay, so I chain pieced all of them together. And then now I'm just using my little snips to cut them apart. Yeah, some other things that people are mentioning about, like going back to the old ways, are like canning. Absolutely. I started canning, well, I canned the summer after I got married. I canned with my mother-in-law. We made grape jelly. And then after I had kids, I made some more grape jelly out of some like bottled juice that we had gotten. We had too much of it, so I made grape jelly from that. And then I started making applesauce and apple butter because I got a deal on apples. It was like 99 cents for 3 pounds, and so I bought a bushel worth, and I made loads and loads of applesauce, and I loved it. And then we moved here last January, and we bought the place in the winter time, and we didn't know that there was 4 mulberry trees on the property, and there was 4 stone fruit trees on the property. So last year, the stone fruit, unfortunately, all of them, none of them made it because it was such a wet spring and summer, and the trees had not been pruned. So there was so much fruit on the trees, so close together and so wet that they just rotted. But we did get 9.5 gallons of mulberries throughout the season. So I spent like an hour a day every day for like 2.5 weeks picking mulberries. And I made mulberry jam, and then I did mulberries in simple syrup, and I am like 2 spoonfuls away from running out of mulberry jam, and I am so sad. I need to make more, but I haven't had time because I've been sewing. But yeah, I still have like 4 or 5 gallons of mulberries in the freezer. And so I've been making a lot of mulberry muffins recently because I need to use up the old stuff, because here in just like a month and a half or so, I'm going to have fresh mulberries. But I think this year, now that I know how like the approximate yield I will get from the trees, I think I will offer to some of my friends. Even if we're still are doing the social distancing and all that, I think I will offer to some of my close friends and say, hey, you can come pick mulberries, you know, pick as many as you want, and, you know, either for free or, you know, give me 10% of them or whatever, you know, so that I'm not out there every single day in the heat picking them. Because, like, it was enjoyable, like, the first few days, you know, and then after that it was kind of torture, but I didn't want them to go to waste. And I could only even reach a small portion of the limbs, you know, so there's still all the top branches, all the stuff on there going to waste. And, you know, and the wind would blow and a ton of them would fall to the ground. And I'm like, oh, it's being wasted. So I just, like, could not handle that. But I think if I offer it to my friends and say, you know, you come pick them too, then, you know, people will get more use out of them. So yeah, I'm looking forward to mulberry season. Definitely. I want to do more canning. At some point, I might want to get a pressure canner, but I'm not quite to that level yet. Oh, and I've canned salsa too. Last year, the farmer's market near the town that we live, I've never lived near a farmer's market before, so I was taking full advantage of it and was going on the weekend, you know, and like the second time I was there, the guy I bought tomatoes from the first time was like, oh yeah, I'll give you a deal, you're one of my regulars. And I'm like, whoa dude, like it's my second time here and I'm already a regular. I feel great. And so he would give me like some really awesome deals. If I bought like the whole box of tomatoes, he would like throw in onions and peppers and a cantaloupe for free, you know. And so I had so many tomatoes one week that I made a batch of salsa, and then the next week he gave me a whole bag full of hot peppers, and so Jeremiah made like super duper super spicy pepper salsa. Yeah, so that was a lot of fun too. Okay, someone asked what I was cutting, and I'm sorry, I forgot to mention. After I chain pieced all of them, the edges don't always line up, and so I'm just trimming off that bit at the end so that when I put the bias binding on, it'll have a nice smooth surface to butt up into the fold of the bias binding. So that's what I was trimming. So yeah, so that is another 12 finished, and then I have, I believe, 2 more batches to put the pleats in, and then I will be done for the night. So yeah. And there were 2 of the clips on the last time. They kind of like felt funny when I squeezed them. So let's see if they break this time around, because they can, I've used them so much that I would not be surprised if a few of them started breaking. How do I keep the pleats from being bulky? I try not to have them overlap. So on the back, where like here's the back of this pleat and here's the front of it. So then the next pleat does not overlap that one. So at any point there's only like 4 layers. And then the trimming the edge helps because it gets the seam area where the pleats are sewn down further into the bias binding, and that compresses the layers as much as possible. And I see that I held that down too low when I was showing you. So let me try that again. The pleat here and here, and then this one does not overlap with that. So hopefully you can see that now. Sorry, the video is a little bit delayed, and so I can't see until like 30 seconds later if something actually is in the right spot or not. So sorry about that. And to anyone who is wondering how, like, I know random stuff like that of like how to keep the pleat from being bulky or whatever. Honestly, I have been sewing for 20 years, and so I started when I was 13, and back then I didn't know a thing at all, and like I started my first quilt back then, and I didn't have any idea what a seam allowance was. So I, like, some pieces I sewed with like less than an 1/8 inch seam allowance, and some pieces like a 1/2 inch, you know. It was paper pieced, so like nothing really had to line up, but you know, it just like I had no idea. And since then I've just learned things along the way, and when you make as much quantity of things as what I've made, because you know, I was making weekly tutorials, so every week I was coming up with a different kind of project. And when you make that many different kinds of things, you just pick up things here and there that, you know, they just make sense after you figure them out. And I was actually helping Jeremiah make a project recently. He was using a sewing pattern, and he knows how to sew. He started sewing longer ago than, like, more than 20 years ago, but he doesn't sew nearly as often as I do. He only makes like one thing a year. So I have far more experience, even though I have less years that I've been doing it. So he was like working with the pattern, and on each step I would explain to him, you know, what to do. I would like break down the pattern lingo, and, you know, I would like explain something. He's like, yeah, you need to break it down even further. I still don't understand that. You know, and to me, I felt like I explained it in like pretty common knowledge stuff, you know, but like it was definitely a huge eye opener of like, okay, that's not common knowledge. It just feels like it because I've been doing this so long that like I forget that not everyone knows that, you know, what a selvage is, or what the grain line is, or, you know, like stuff like that, that I'm like, everybody knows that, right? You know, and they don't. And so like it was a really good reminder that I need to make sure to explain things like that when I am talking about them. Aw, thank you. Rye Jacobs. I'm terrible with names. I'm so sorry. But yeah, things are definitely tough right now, but we will get through it together. You are right. What's funny is the other night when I did the live stream on Wednesday, I was like, oh, I'll just stream for like maybe an hour, you know, like no big deal. And I ended up being on for 2 hours. So then I told Jeremiah tonight, I was like, I'm going to do a stream. It'll only be like an hour. And I looked up just now and I've been on for an hour and 43 minutes. So never hold me to my 1 hour thing, apparently. I like to talk. I can't help it. Deborah says she's using bandanas. Should she use 3 layers to get the right thickness, or 4? The ones I'm making are only 2 layers of cotton, because that is what the urgent care clinic I am donating them to has requested, because they said if it's too many layers, it's not going to be very comfortable and people won't wear them. So that's what they recommended. But obviously the more layers you have, the more, you know, good it will do. But you want to keep in mind, you know, is it comfortable? Are you going to really wear it? And also what is requested. If you're donating it, make sure you're doing what they've requested so that it will get used. Aw, Ray's here. My friend Ray from Biggest Ray. Thank you for joining the stream. He is a really great guy. We have done a panel together at a convention with the Tulsa YouTubers. And he has a channel here on YouTube as well. He's very encouraging and positive. So you should check him out. Stephanie Bethany was on earlier, Ray. So you missed her. But I'm so glad you were able to join in. Oh, and Ray has the cutest cat named Karma Kitty, and she's absolutely adorable. I don't think I told you, Ray, but we adopted a cat almost 3 weeks ago from a shelter, and we are absolutely loving her. My kids are in love. So, yep. Anna, yes, this will be posted to my channel as soon as the stream ends. So to everyone who is just now popping in, I am working on masks that I am making to donate to a local urgent care clinic. They requested masks that are 100% cotton and 2 layers thick. I am doing the pleated kind with ties so that it will fit more variety of head sizes. So here is how they are looking at this point. I have a sew and chat video that I believe is linked in the description box that I posted a week and a half ago, and in that video I go through like all of the steps of making this, and I have the written out directions as well below this video and below that video, so if that helps at all. Yes, Ray, I posted a couple of pictures of our cat on my personal Facebook. Her name is Sissy Sprinkle Donut because the kids couldn't decide on a name, so we just went with all the names. And she is a tabby cat, and she is very sweet. She's about a year old, and we are just absolutely loving her. And I am using a lot of my fabric stash for these, and some fabric that people have given me to use. And then on some of them, I'm making my own ties like this with a 2-inch wide strip of fabric that I fold in and then I fold in half. But this takes a very long time to do all that pressing. So when it's in stock, my friend and I keep buying them out of stock. I'm buying the 55-yard rolls of bias tape off of Amazon. This is linked in the video description. And one of these rolls makes about 28 masks, I believe. I think it's about 28. And I received this order in the mail today. I had bought 8 rolls of it. So I have a whole bag of them ready to go for adding the ties tomorrow. And I cut the ties to be right at like 35 or 36 inches, and they go from one side all the way down across the pleated side of the mask to the other side. So yeah, and like I said, I prefer the ties because they can be adjusted to fit any size necessary. Because I made my mask, I have a very small head, I made my mask and my husband's mask the same size. He has a very big head, and both of them fit just fine with the ties. And then I am pleating 12 at a time because that is how many I have enough clips to do. And then I'm pressing the pleats in and then just chain piece sewing them one after the other after the other. So if you have any questions about making these, just let me know. You just went on Amazon and the shipment date says the 28th. Let me see. Yeah, it looks like they have extended the date The ones I got, when I bought these on, I think I bought these on Monday, and they arrived today, which is actually a day sooner than what the estimate even was. So, I mean, they may come quicker than expected, but I know the seller keeps running out because my friend and I keep buying as many as we can. And so she, I believe it's a lady, the seller is having to like airmail more stock to her each time, and so that could be pushing the arrival date back for orders. Yeah, Ray, we just got her. It'll be 3 weeks on Monday, and yeah, she's super sweet. So, am I making the kind that the pad goes in? No, I'm not. We were just asked to make 2 layers of cotton with no filter pockets. Hello to Michelle. That's awesome that you're from New Zealand. I am in Oklahoma. I have made 174 so far that are like completed and passed out already. I have 48 now. No, that's wrong. I don't know how many are ready for ties now, but I have 86 in progress right now. I believe it is. So I am working on them assembly line style, as you can tell. So as I get them ready for the ties to be added, I'm stacking them in the box over here. So I have a ton of them that are ready for the ties. And then that's what I'll be doing tomorrow, is just sewing ties one after the other until they get done. I actually like doing the ties because it is just like one really, really long seam to sew over and over and over. So I can do it really fast. Hello to Kay from the UK. Yes, I pre-washed my fabric to keep it from, like to make sure any shrinkage or anything like that was taken care of. And then before I wash it, I serge all of the cut edges. So I just serge, like where they would cut it when you buy it at the store. I serge both those sides and then throw it in the wash. And then after it's washed and dried, I just fold it back in half like it is when it comes off the bolt, making sure the edges are all lined up as well as possible. And then I cut with a rotary cutter and acrylic ruler. And in my sew and chat video from last Wednesday, I show a lot of the cutting and things like that. So make sure to check out that video if you want to know how I like efficiently cut this much fabric. Will I be live tomorrow? Probably not. because when I go live, my husband has to sit in the living room while I'm in here in our bedroom, and I don't want to do that to him like every night. So probably not. And this evenings are really the only time I can do this because my kids are in bed. Otherwise, they would be running in here and yelling and stuff the whole time. So I probably won't do a live tomorrow, but I do enjoy doing the lives. So I might do them more often, especially while I'm still sewing masks and things like that, because when I'm doing assembly line sewing like this, I can sit in one spot and talk like this. Whereas if I was doing something different, like working on a costume, I would be needing to like move around and get different things. So what I'm trying to say is things like this, where I'm doing a lot of the same thing over and over and over, lends itself well to live videos. So maybe I will do more of them. Awesome, Tina. I'm glad you like the chatting while sewing. I enjoy it too. I always either am talking while I'm sewing or listening to an audiobook or a movie or something. But yeah, it's definitely fun to have the live going. And since I'm sewing while I'm doing it, if there aren't a lot of comments to read, I just do more sewing. So it gives me something to do instead of just sitting here staring the whole time at the comments. But I'm glad you are enjoying it. Bye, Ray. I'm glad you could stop in for a little bit. I'll see you next time. Rosa, I'm doing 2 layers of cotton fabric. That is what was requested by the urgent care clinic that I'm donating them to. So those are all chain pieced together. I always like this part because then it looks like a ladder. Yeah, I just find enjoyment with that. I don't know why. Anyway, and then I just clip them apart. And if you've never seen it before, this is called chain piecing, and it saves time and it saves thread to sew this way anytime you're doing something that, you know, you have a lot of different pieces like this. Aw, you guys are so sweet. I am glad to have something to do that I can sit at home and make and be helpful to others, because, you know, a lot of people don't have the opportunity to stay home right now with their family, and I do. So I'm glad there's something I can do with my skills to, you know, be a blessing to someone else. So I'm just glad that I'm able to do this. And by sharing it online, I can help other people be able to make things as well. So what I am doing now is trimming up the seam allowance, because since I'm going to be using the binding on the edges, you can see right here that the seam allowance is kind of rough and a little bit uneven. So I'm just cutting that off so that there is a nice clean edge, and that will fit better in the bias binding when I sew it on tomorrow. And I'm using really nice sharp shears for this. My husband got me these for Christmas like 6 or so years ago, and I really like them. They cut through all these layers of fabric really nicely and easily. That is really cool, Tina. I have never made a rug before. I have had an interest in it, but I've just never had the time to do it once I learned about it. So I learned about it after having kids. So if that explains why I've never tried it, but I love seeing the ones that other people make. Okay, so that batch is trimmed up and ready for their binding. So I'm going to put it in the box over here where I'm stacking. This is the ones that are ready for the binding, and then on this side is just the few pieces that I have cut that I haven't used yet. And that way they are staying contained and they are, you know, organized and all that, and I'm not losing any pieces. What make of scissors are these? These are the Ginger, I don't remember what size they are, but they're the Ginger shears. They are really nice quality, and they are made in Italy. Okay, so, oh, I'm down to just 2 more. I didn't realize. The measurements that I have cut are listed in the this video's description box. Sorry, I can't seem to talk now. So if you click the show more on the video description box, it will be down there along with a written out list of instructions for exactly how I'm making the masks, so you can see step-by-step written instructions. And then there's a video linked as well for my sew and chat that I did last week, and in that video I show every step of making one of these masks, so start to finish. All of the information is there if you want to see it all being done. In that sew and chat video, I also show how to most efficiently cut the fabric so that you make the most of your yardage if you're needing to make several masks at a time. Yes, Diane, they didn't ask for a pocket for a filter because they are giving these masks out to patients in their waiting area. So it's non-COVID patients and, who come in for severe allergies or just whatever they may come in for. And so they're giving them one when they get in the waiting room, having them wear it during that time in case they cough or anything like that. They won't be coughing on someone else. And then they're sending the masks home with them so that when they go out to the store or whatever, they will wear it then. And they wanted it to be as simple as possible because they want to really encourage people to actually reuse them, to wash them and reuse them. So they didn't want it to be difficult at all, so they just asked for 2 layers of cotton, no filter pocket or anything like that, just so it's as foolproof as possible for people to actually use them. And since they are sending them home with the patients, they requested a high quantity of masks, and so they actually put out a request for 1,000 masks. And as far as I know, it's just me and one other friend making them for this place. And she's actually the one taking them and dropping them off. I haven't even been to the place. I'm dropping them on her porch, and then she's gathering them up with the masks that she makes and dropping them off at the clinic. And so far we have taken over around 225 to 250 masks out of the 1,000 that they requested. So we have a long way to go, but we're definitely making progress, and that's better than nothing. So. And I'm just glad that there is something that I can do to help while I am at home with my family and using up, fabric and supplies that I already had on hand. So, well, I bought the bias binding, but other than that, the thread and most of the fabric I already had on hand, and it wasn't being used otherwise. So. Okay, so I've got them trimmed up next to the stitching that I just did so that they will fit in the bias binding nicely, and that is it for tonight. That was all the masks that I had prepped. Yeah, so I have a huge stack over here. See if I can even hold them all at once. Okay, here's all of them that I have prepped. This is, I believe, 86 masks that are ready for their ties to be added. They have been cut, sewn, flipped, pressed, pleated, sewn again, trimmed, all the things. And then tomorrow I will dive into my bias tape order that I received today. I bought 8 rolls of bias tape, and this is in addition to the 3 rolls that I used up last week. They keep coming. I will start out by cutting them into 35 to 36 inch pieces, and there will be a huge mound of them. I'll probably cut 1 roll at a time, then just start clipping them to the mast. I use 2 clips on each side. I take my piece of bias tape, I fold it in half and pinch where the middle is, and I match that middle up with the middle of the side. I just eyeball where the middle of the side is. I put this between the layers of the bias tape, and I put 2 clips, and then I sew from one end of the bias tape all the way to the other one. And yeah, it's really easy. I like that part the best probably because it's a lot of really fast, really straight sewing. So yeah, that's what I'm going to be working on tomorrow. Probably all day and all evening. See how many I can get done. Last time when my first bias tape order came in, I got 58, the ties sewn on 58 masks in one day. So let's see if I can beat that tomorrow. We shall see. Someone asked if my friend is making the same kind of masks that I'm making. Yes, because that is exactly what the clinic requested, and so that's what we are making. So yeah, I'm keeping track of the numbers as I make them. Actually though, I didn't add the last thing on. I have finished 169 masks and have 86 in progress. Someone asked where the bias binding is from. It is from Amazon. It is polyester, but it is the, instead of cotton. I would have preferred cotton, but polyester is all I can find. It is the only large roll of bias binding that I could find on the internet. So that's what I'm ordering. And thankfully, I've had some friends donate toward the cause. So that's helping me cover costs because bias binding does add up. But some friends have donated it, and so that is super, super nice. They definitely did not have to, but they wanted to because they don't sew themselves, and they wanted to do something to help out. So that was really sweet. But yeah, so tackling this tomorrow. I think that is everything I have for tonight. Thank you all so much for joining my live stream. Hit that like button if you enjoyed it and want to see more live streams in the future, because I'm actually really enjoying doing this, and it gives me something to do while I'm sewing. Crafty Irina, is that what it says? Said, hope you update us on your progress. I definitely will. I have not been posting much about making these on like Instagram or Facebook, just because when I first started making them, a lot of people were being kind of critical, saying, you know, cloth masks aren't effective or anything, which I know they're not effective against COVID if you're in, you know, tight quarters and stuff. But just like being out shopping and stuff, they are far better than nothing. So, but anyway, I'm rambling now. But yes, I will update you all on my progress, and I will probably do another live stream probably next week. I've been just kind of, it depends on how I feel that evening on if I do a live stream. So we shall see. Yeah, but thank you so much for joining me while I got my sewing done. I am impressed. I don't think I changed bobbins that entire time. And it is about to run out. So somehow I did not run out of bobbin through all of that. Anyway, yeah. So good night, everyone. I hope you all are staying safe and happy sewing.